Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. So that's good evening from me from Melbourne. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the Special Interest Group from ISPIM on social innovation. It's fantastic to see so many people online and also a lot of familiar names. I'm Anne-Laure Mention. I'm the Director of the Global Business Innovation Enabling Impact Platform at RMIT University in Australia, and also act as Director of Community Engagement and Impact at ISPIM. Let me give a few words about ISPIM and its Special Interest Group strategy. ISPIM is a global community of innovation scholars, thought leaders, practitioners, policymakers, and innovation enthusiasts. Last count, we had over 7,000 members. ISPIM members gather up to 3 times a year. Our main event is in June in Europe, and the next one is in Tallinn. And we have 2 smaller events, which are usually regionally centered. We will gather in Brazil in about a month, and the next one will be in Osaka, Japan in December. ISPIM hosts about 12 special interest groups which act as platforms to progress research, engagement, and maintain momentum throughout the year on critical innovation topics. Those topics range from digital disruption and transformation, circular economy, innovation leadership, living labs, body of knowledge, which is related to standardization of innovation management, and the newly set up frontiers of impact. ISPIM special interest groups run specific activities, carefully curated and with specific intent, with purposeful intent, throughout the year. They host or facilitate special issues, and also SIG members collaborate on EU proposals or EU-funded projects. This SIG has a wide range of activities, and I'm very keen to hear more about the lineup of events, including the Coffee for Thoughts that you're planning. I'm also very delighted to see this SIG coming to light so quickly. The first conversations were about 2 months ago, as it aims to tackle complex and interconnected challenges, and by doing so, addressing pressing social needs. This SIG will also contribute with tracks, workshops, roundtables within the conference and across the year. It is led by stellar scholars Elena Peso and Kyriaki Papageorgiou, who will give you more information about the SIG, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing about that and to meeting you at online events or at the conferences. Elena, over to you.
Thank you, Anne-Laure, and a very warm welcome from you and from me and from Kyriaki, which is together with us. We are all together here today. So as Anne-Laure already anticipated you, this special interest group was born recently, but really with a willingness, a common willingness and a shared vision and aims. So me, I'm from University of Siena, Italy, and I'm a management engineer. And Kyriaki is from Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and he's an anthropologist. So coming from different backgrounds and different disciplines, we share the common willingness and the shared vision of bringing together academics, practitioners, and decision makers in order to accelerate a collective understanding of what is social innovation now and how we can actually develop together and with shared objectives, new products, new services, new organizational forms, and also new strategies in order to tackle the compelling societal challenges that we are facing, and which we know are by nature complex and with problems that cannot be really faced if we are not collaborating between disciplines, but also at international level and at intersectoral level. So what just me and Kyriaki will be would play as let's say orchestrators of this community of practice that is made by you, and we also we also hope that this community will also grow in time. So even for this event, you are really, we have different really numerous participants and really different registrations. So we are really happy about that everyone is really committed and interested into this special interest group. So how we will do it, how we will push this community of practice to really share knowledge, share expertise, and also put in place more learning about how we can actually develop social innovation at a global dimension. So firstly, we thought about organization of these series of events that we call the Coffee for Talks. Why? Because we usually think and we usually say it's these moments are like food for talks, so sharing ideas and sharing expertise, but we wanted to do it in a quick and a really warming way as a nice cup of coffee, and to have these thought-provoking publication and case studies to be shared, and then to really engage and foster new understanding of this concept of social innovation, how it has been actually developed, how people from different disciplines and different expertise are working on this topic, and then have these nice 45 minutes, 1 hour sessions when caffeine kicks in and really stimulate learning and further understanding on that. But also, secondly, we are aware that there are several initiatives, several networks that are already ongoing, that are already well consolidated at a global level, and that are concentrated maybe on single streams. So, for example, on social entrepreneurship, responsible innovation, or even digital social innovation. We would like really to facilitate the connection with these networks and multiply the initiatives and the opportunities to get in-depth knowledge and to really foster the development of new social innovation concepts and approaches to be shared at a network level. And third, we would like also to foster this knowledge sharing, this putting together experiences, but also common aims and common opportunities, not only through network connection, but also with practical initiatives that are crafting together a collaborative project proposal to be submitted to different funding programs at EU, but also at international level. So really different ideas, different plans, and of course, different opportunities that we would like to carry out with you all together. So I will leave the floor to Kyriaki that will also further build on this concept and which is the vision behind this special interest group.
Thank you, Elena. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to present where this idea kind of the special interest group first emerged, which is actually, it is a collaborative research project that we crafted a couple of years ago. And in that, we said, you know, wouldn't be a nice idea to have a social innovation special interest group at ISPIM. And this project is called CHESS, standing for Change Hubs for Ecosystemic Social Solutions. And it was a call from Horizon Europe. And there it posed like a couple of challenges that we, in our project, we set to tackle. One of the challenges that, you know, social innovation, you hear it a lot, but it's too abstract. A lot of times theory and practice remain by and large disconnected. Another challenge is that there's a lot of toolkits out there, but we know very little about how people are using these toolkits and how effective they are. And then the third and actually most interesting challenge for us is that a lot of social innovators tend to work in their own silos, and they're not connected with the wider innovation ecosystem, where ISPIM plays a very important role, like more like business technological innovation. So I'm very excited that now we are hopefully bringing in this community, the social innovation community, and our chess project partners. And kind of what I want to also emphasize is that this project is a 2-year project. We're now just beginning our second year. And what we're trying to do is tackle concrete challenges and use a lot of the tools that have been designed by social innovation and also management community, and put them in practice to tackle 4 specific challenges: climate change, refugee integration, blue economy, and youth and female unemployment. So the project has different partners from the UK, from Italy, Slovenia, Lithuania, and Greece. And the final kind of result of this project is what we call an action manual, where hopefully some of the learnings from this experiment will be kind of made relevant and used in all sorts of other communities that place a lot of emphasis in tackling societal challenges. So without further ado, I'm very excited to kind of introduce 2 friends and colleagues, Louise and Karina, which I've known for a long time. Louise, I think I met first in 2013, more than a decade ago, where I attended an event that was organized, the Social Innovation Exchange. It was called Wayfinder. And in that event, the first concepts of a project that Karina's institutions and colleague ended up being involved in, called SI Drive, got drafted in a way. So and Karina has been now a senior researcher and lecturer at T2 Technical University of Dortmund, which has been kind of an organization that has been at the center of academic explorations of social innovation. So now we'll hear, like, from both of them, what has been happening in the community of social innovators over the last decade, and how can we bring a lot of that knowledge into our community and mix it with this community's expertise and move forward. So Luis, you have the task of presenting the last 10 years in 10 minutes. Do you want to start? Give the floor to you.
Thank you, Kyriaki, and thank you, ISPIM, for inviting me. In some ways, maybe I should do 1 minute per year for my next 10 minutes, but I won't. I'm going to phrase my assessment of what's happened in the last 10 years in 4 phases. And we're going to have a pause after phase 3, because I think something happened then that was very interesting that has led us into phase 4, where we are. I have no slides because I'm not an academic, and I didn't engage my designer quickly enough to create something beautiful. So unfortunately, you need to just listen to me. Let me tell you first what SIG is about. So in lots of ways, we have a very similar makeup of community as ISPIM does. Cross-sector leaders from academics, NGOs, people in business, industry, philanthropy, community organizations. But I guess the difference is they're working on innovation specifically around societal challenges or social innovation, as opposed to more, their starting point is more the society side rather than the innovation side, maybe. But we were established about over a decade ago, and I've been working with SIG since then. And so I'll give you a bit of an assessment what we've seen and happening around the world. I think it's important in this context to say why we're excited about this special interest group and collaboration. Because when we started, SIG's main aim, as well as was to build this community of social innovators, help people who are isolated and lonely find each other, and they could be from corporates or NGOs or philanthropists or governments alike, but also to try and help really connect the social innovation and the mainstream innovation narratives, and in particular to increase, to help people understand that they're really the same thing. We're innovating, we can innovate for societal challenges. And so a lot of the work that we did at the very beginning was with the European Commission, trying to get social recognized in mainstream innovation policy. That's around 2009, 2010. And I think, in lots of ways, not just with the Commission, but in many ways, we've been quite successful as a movement. We now see like new sources of, everything that had a innovation hub, innovation team, innovation mayor, innovation fund. We now find social innovation hubs, social innovation mayors, social innovation teams, social innovation funds. And many of the programs that I've collaborated with Karina and Kyriaki on, including SI Drive and Chess under Horizon, have social innovation embedded in their mission. So in lots of ways we've been successful, and in lots of ways we haven't, and I'll come on to that. So just let's go through these 4 phases. So the beginning, mid-2000s, and this is when people were kind of finding each other. We were coining the term social innovation. People were starting to understand what it was. We were trying to make it less abstract. We set up community of people in Europe, but also hosted many events globally, and showed what this looked like in practice as a concept. Who was doing it, how it worked, was and how we learn from each other was the kind of core of what we started to do. So that was the mid-2000s, and that kind of continued, I think, until about we had a critical mass of people, not a membership organization of who's in, who's out, but a community, a movement of people. And we saw within that network as well, labs, movements, kind of social innovation labs coming together, people working on digital social innovation, people working on cities. And then around 2010, there was a recognition, I think, that we needed to build some more capacity and tools around this concept. So this is the next phase, I think, where many academies began, toolkits were created. There are now thousands of social innovation toolkits. And this is partly what Chess is trying to help consolidate. The Young Foundation and Nesta in the UK did some seminal work and created the kind of social innovation spiral, which was a process of social innovation that showed that actually there are a bunch of tools and methods that you could use to come up with new ideas. It was not just a genius in a shed that came up with ideas, but anyone could do it if you use these processes. How you might prototype things in terms of welfare programs, how you might grow and scale these programs. And so I think increasingly, concepts and ways that people could do design thinking and human-centered design. There was just a big consolidation, documentation of the types of processes that people could use to solve societal challenges. And that continued to kind of raise the profile of this work and get more and more types of institutions interested. And I think that's when in about 2015, we go into our next phase of this work, when the institutions got interested. So first, I think we saw a wave of universities all running social innovation projects for their students, but also thinking about themselves as an institution. And there were many social innovation labs that we worked on in Southeast Asia and in Latin America, and indeed in Europe, where they were trying to connect the university to the community that was around them. Because of course, people being in charge of their own lives is how we define social innovation at SIG, and having agency and capacity to do things. And so I think there was a really interesting time. And then in that institutions phase, the next set of institutions I think that got really interested in this work was philanthropy and foundations. And they wanted to understand how they could be more innovative in the things they were funding, not just creating band-aids and doing short-term solutions, but how they could think more systemically and take more risks, provide risk capital in the whole ecosystem of finance, to help progress and advance societal progress. So I think there was this really interesting moment then, the institutions being involved, and even we saw a lot of businesses moving from the idea of corporate social responsibility to corporate social innovation. They're thinking less about charity and more creatively about how to embed innovation practices in their and social mission and social purpose in their work. But then, you know, I think there was a turbulent few years, I think, for the social innovation community as the world got more turbulent. And in 2016, we started to see a kind of move against this kind of world of agency and people having a say and contributing to their own lives as Trump was elected and as Brexit happened. And we had more and more challenges and crises around migration, and people started to see the world in a really different way. Nations became very protectionist, inward looking, less about learning and supporting other people. Rise in authoritarian leaders who are the complete opposite in philosophy of what we're about as a movement. Polarization, populism, all of these things that started. And I think, you know, we were then very unfortunate to lead into a pandemic shortly after that, which gave rise to more of this kind of leader, which is completely opposite to the philosophy of the movement. So I talk about that because I think that puts social innovation as a movement in a really challenging place. And I think the world is a challenging place to be at the moment. And I think what social innovation now has to offer the world is something around hope and vision. And I think this is where we get to the kind of aim of systemic change and thinking at a more of a systems level with this kind of work. We need to think about systems, but we also need to think about ourselves and our human role in systems. And so the social innovation narratives and the work that we're doing a lot more at the moment is around future. It's around imagination. It's around hope. It's around the kind of imagining the kind of society we want to be in. It's about bringing all these sectors who traditionally don't naturally work together and have been pushed to be more separate in the last few years, about coming together and learning together. And in lots of ways, it's a challenging time with technology and the rise of things like AI and the digital world that we all live in, and all of the wars and the conflicts that we see around the world. But I think that is even more that we need a time that we can come together, create new ways and imagine new ways of doing things together, and think about the future that we need to be in. So I think that is the charge for the social innovation community today. And I think this is a great time to bring these two communities together and be part of the Social Innovation Interest Group. So with that, maybe I'll stop.
Thank you, Louise. Very, very inspiring the way you closed about future imagination, hope. So on that note, maybe I'll give the floor now to Karina, and then we can, like, the lots of food and coffee for thought, let's say. We'll give the floor to Karina, who also has a very challenging task to kind of summarize what has happened, more of the theoretical kind of developments in the field of social innovation within kind of universities and academic settings. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and then Karina, I'll invite you to put your screen, share your screen, and then we'll have some time for questions afterwards.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you see this?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, ISPIM team and Louise and Kyriaki. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here and to be to seeing now the implementation of our ideas for this project. So I also have a very challenging task as Louise. I will tell you a story from the perspective of research of social innovation. So social innovation as a field of research has been, well, we see many initiatives, successful initiatives that have the potential of solve problems. So we have seen this in social inclusion, education, poverty alleviation, sustainable consumption patterns, and many other topics. So social innovation has a very long story. As Luis mentioned, from the perspective of the practice, we also see this in the theory. For example, this concept of social innovation is not new. It was closely linked to the social transformation and social change, but from the beginning of the 20th century, a new meaning of the term started to emerge. We see this with the understanding of new behavior and development of new practices. So what was missing in this development? Since the 80s, we see that this concept has been increasingly used in many different research fields. But the debate remained largely in the specific research communities. So we saw that the different communities were not talking and discussing the different definitions. So the challenge was to develop a clear concept of social innovation. So colleagues of mine at TU Dortmund were involved in this process where we need to develop new concepts, but also to embed these concepts in a comprehensive theory of innovation. But this comes as well with different challenges, and to develop coherent methodologies, but also to see how can we identify and measure actually social innovation. So we saw a new generation of projects and knowledge, and with this, TUDO was developed one of the first definitions on social innovation in 2010. So here, colleagues of mine were involved. Of course, I won't go in detail with this. We don't have time. But I think the interesting here is that we start defining more concrete and understanding social innovation better. So with this understanding, a project, a very important project started in 2014. So Luis and Kyriaki already mentioned, so TU Dortmund was coordinating this project in this period. So colleagues of mine, I think Christoph is there. Well, they were involved in coordinating this project, and it was a huge work and a huge advance in the understanding of social innovation research. So here, the main goals were integrate all these theories and research methodologies that we had before to advance in the understanding of social innovation. We also saw that, well, since this was a very international project, not only European, many different mapping of social innovation initiatives were done in this framework. But also, we try to understand the policy fields that were related to all these initiatives. Probably many of you already know this graphic. This is a map of the different initiatives of social innovation identified in this project. So as you see, it was not only Europe involved, but it was a very collective international effort on doing this. It was also, well, the effort to understand what kind of stakeholders are involved, who is present, but also who is not there, so who is missing. And since there, well, a couple of different European projects related to social innovation emerge. Here we work, for example, with SIG and Luis in different projects, and we see that a new generation of funded projects was more established and contribute to the theoretical foundation of social innovation. So at this point, the research community was recognizing that the field is a bit more mature. So we see that the developing of a research community was there. So these are many of the different research institutions or different actors, research actors involved in this research community. And from our side, colleagues of mine were involved in this project, which was a research agenda for social innovation. Here, we wanted to understand the status quo of social innovation. Where are we now, but also where do we need to go? And what are the future possible research agendas? And finally, recent research experiences in social innovation internationally in Germany. I think we are experiencing very interesting times also in terms of research. The field is a bit more consolidated now, and this is, for example, one example of an European project. This was the Competence Center for Social Innovation. And here we also work together with SIG and Luis. And here we were trying to understand better the ecosystems in different countries, but also to develop skills and to try to make national competence centers for social innovation. In these efforts in Germany, we study more the German ecosystem, and here we make a mapping of the ecosystem of social innovation. But where we are now, so in Germany, for example, we have now a national strategy for social innovation and enterprises. This was published or communicated last year, and now there many things happening in Germany, for example, and there are more partnerships, but especially more understanding from the political side that the need of social innovation is there, and we cannot deny it. So here is also a project which is a platform for social innovation which is happening in Germany, and I think with this we will have a better understanding of our own ecosystem and the potentials where we can better work together. And finally, this was, this is the Encyclopedia of Social Innovation. We were involved in this publication, and this was published last year. So this was a huge collective effort, and many of the authors are international. So here we see the development and the consolidation also of the research community. So yeah, I think I will stop there, and I think I managed with my 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Karina. No, this is very impressive. The 1,005 cases of social innovation achieved at the SI Drive project, and then these encyclopedias that have been developed. So we're not starting from scratch in this social innovation community, and I think hopefully what this special interest group represents is maybe a new kind of era where social innovation and business innovation and innovation management community can come together to move forward some of these concepts together. And I think I'm very excited about this potential, and also new project ideas as well. Well, we have a couple of minutes that we can open the floor for any questions people might have to Karina and Luis, but also for me and Elena. Please just unmute yourself and ask the question if you, or raise your hand, or while people are thinking, maybe, okay, Sabine. Please go ahead, and then Patrick. Great.
Yes. Hi. I'm totally caught by surprise with this event. I actually chimed in only 10 minutes after because it kind of showed up in my mailbox, and I'm checking out of a hotel somewhere. So I'm a little bit in between. But I just wanted to say hello to Luis. I mean, Luis, you and I, we've met years ago, exactly with Jeff Morgan and in this context. And I've actually also worked with people at the TU Dortmund, right? Now I'm super confused. Yes. I just want to know, how do you envision the collaboration to work? Like, is it like a regular meeting? Are you thinking of like events? Are you targeting I mean, obviously ISPM, but do you have a little bit more thoughts about what that involves? And maybe Karina, just for your feedback, I'm a design researcher working on these issues for a while, but I kind of like have the systemic approach. So, you know, it goes, I'm using also public sector innovation and that kind of stuff. So anyways, just if you have a bit of an idea what, you know, you also would like people who are joining this, what would you like them to do?
I think Elena covered it a little bit in this slide, but we'll return to this at the end, if that's okay, Sabine, about what is the next steps for the community and what we can do together. And okay. Especially, I think, I mean, we would love to work, especially with people with your profile, who has worked also, has designer background and has worked with the social innovation community as well. So I think that, I don't know, Elena, if you want to add anything to that.
I think we have a lot of time ahead of us to have all these different, you know, initiatives all together. So Of course, we will also collect your suggestions about possible ways to actually collaborate on these topics and bringing together really different viewpoints and really different disciplines to a systemic, let's say, mass of knowledge that we can share all together. And I take also this opportunity to answer to a couple of questions that were on the chat. So yes, we are sharing this presentation together with the registration of the event. So you will have these materials also presented by Karina. And secondly, Peter asked us about the next ISPIM meeting. So we will organize a hot topic session there. We won't have a dedicated special session with call for papers because we are really newly born, but this is the plan for the upcoming ISPIM events. And yeah, if I'm not wrong, there was another question from...
Yeah, I think Patrick has his hand raised, and also then John.
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Crane. I work with regions, and I work very much with complex industrial systems. And one of the things that I've been coming across recently is the idea of social transformation, this transformation of society in terms of the systems that make society happen. And it seems to me that on the one hand, there's a technical dimension to this, but on the other hand, the real issue is the scaling of the transformation. And so what I've seen is that there's a real need for innovative thinking in how both the public and the private sector approaches the scaling problem. And just to give a concrete example, a number of years ago, I was working on the adoption of energy efficiency practices and technologies by SMEs. And one of the things that we found is that if we're to achieve net zero in 2050, the rate of adoption of practices would have to scale up by a factor of about 100 every year between now and 2050. And so this is a really, really, challenging problem. There are ways forward, but the issue, the innovation issue, is not so much the energy practices, but the problem scaling of adoption. And I'm looking at the same thing. I'm working on the biofuel sector nowadays. We're trying to decarbonize aviation and maritime transport. And what's happening in the energy systems is that we move away from a centralized production, say at an oil well or a gas well, to a system of production which is highly distributed across all of the farms that produce waste and the cities that produce waste, etc. And that is, people really underestimate the scale and the nature of the transformation and the need for new thinking, and not so much at a technical level in terms of energy systems, but also in terms of how government at local level, can actually support these things. So this is just to let you know that these are the kind of issues that seem to be really pressing today. And I hope via the special interest group, it might be possible to develop some thinking along those points, which may already be addressed by academics, but there's certainly pressing issues in the field. So
thank you, Patrick. You already have a response actually in the chat. You can have a look at that, but I think this goes to your point that Louise also raised about thinking about the future's imaginations and drafting together a more hopeful world. All right, well, we have like very briefly, John, if you can interfere, and then I'll pass the word to Elena to close up. Yes, go ahead. We cannot hear you.
Any better?
Yes.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, my name's John Barker. I'm Associate Director of Innovation at Simply Do. We're an innovation management company who've run a number of kind of social innovation projects. My question is just really for Louise, or kind of more of a reflection than anything. So we've obviously run a number of kind of localized social innovation projects involving kind of health inequalities within the NHS and kind of third sector, but also kind of looking at kind of education and the civic mission. But I'm just wondering, kind of, Louise, it'd be interesting to hear your kind of reflections on this as somebody who's worked internationally, kind of around that almost tension between kind of the localism of social innovation, so having kind of what should we say, acute impact at a kind of very local kind of geographical level, and that kind of place-based focus, versus kind of almost what this SIG's been put together to do, kind of that international collaboration and international mobilization of impact within social innovation. Yeah, so just a reflection on that. Sorry if I took a bit longer than needed.
Well, maybe
Can you be very brief, and then we can.
No, I was just going to suggest, John, happy to chat afterwards. Send me a note. We could have a conversation. Be fine. Good to do that. And then maybe also that's a great conversation topic for one of these interest group discussions as well. So I'll respect the time here and not actually respond, but I think it's a great question. And those are two ways that we can go into it in a bit more detail.
Great. Well, this is a great beginning. You know, already people are connecting on and off screen. And then now I'll just give the floor to Elena to close with a presentation about what's happening in the future.
Yeah, fully agree. I'm really happy that the debates are already very hot and very ongoing between us. Many concepts are already raised, many viewpoints. So really, we are really happy to open this special interest group, and that already people are bringing their own ideas. And the very next meeting that we plan is especially on the perspective of design, as also was mentioned by Sabine just a few minutes ago. And we will have the pleasure to hosting Professor Enlor Fayad from Nova School of Business Economics that will present us one of the main, let's say, thought-provoking works recently published about revisiting design thinking and embracing a critical design stance for social innovation. So save the date. It will be on May 7th at 10 a.m. Central European time. And we will, of course, send you the invitation through the ISPIM newsletter and through the other channels, so LinkedIn, so on. So keep posted on that. And after this, we will be, me and Kyriaki we will be present at the ISPIM conference in Tallinn. So we will be glad to meet you there also in person if you will join us there. So thanks again for attending this first launch event. And Kyriaki.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Very happy that you joined us, and we look forward to our next conversation. And please feel free to just kind of contact us in the meantime.